Hello, everybody. This is Kenny Evans and David Berry, and welcome to It's What You Keep. This is a podcast dedicated to helping you learn how to keep more of the money you earn so you can turn your income into lasting wealth. In the first episode, we'll give you a little information about my co-host David and me, and why we started this show and how we hope this podcast can benefit you, our listeners.
We talked about starting this podcast several months ago because we wanted to get information out there for people like us who find themselves in a position where we've earned a certain amount of wealth and then wonder where it went. We get ourselves into this cycle of earning and spending and earning and spending. The money just cycles right through us.
Our goal is that this podcast provides us the tools and directions to keep more of the money we earn, whatever job we might have. We hear a lot that you can never get rich working for somebody else. And based on our own experiences, Dave and I have discovered that's not quite true, especially for talented people with potentially high-paying jobs. We believe that the answer really lies in another well-known cliche, the one that says, it's not what you make, but what you keep. During this podcast series, we'll share stories of pro athletes and entertainers that sign multi-million-dollar contracts during their career, but end up broke and declaring bankruptcy just a few years later. And stories don't stop with used to be rich and famous, but to lottery winners, successful Wall Street execs, and a lot of business owners. Most importantly, we want to talk to you and to us about how we can not only avoid being broke after years of working, but how we can hold on to way more of what we make instead of making other people rich. First by working for them, and then by giving them all the money we just made. We'll talk about the fact that making $10 million and spending $10 million makes you as broke as making $50,000 and spending $50,000.
We want the information in this podcast series to provide practical insight as to how easy it is to let your money flow through you and away from you instead of staying with you. And to inspire you to take control of your finances and plan for your money before others take control of it and try to influence you to continue the cycle of spending everything you earn. Based on the research that Ken and I have done, the information in this podcast is seldom, if ever, provided in most schools, rarely provided in the homes, but it is taught and used by some of the most successful people in the world.
What we've come to find is that it all starts with attitude and desire. Sounds like a simple concept, and it really is, but we need to take it a lot further behind those words. We have to want to be successful with our finances to the point that building and keeping our wealth is the first thing we think about every single day. We spend time actually thinking about what we do, how it impacts our future wealth. We'll change the things that we do to retain more of the money that we're making. Another concept we'll cover is that wealth and success are different for different people. In other words, true wealth is whatever wealth means to you. So we're not suggesting you get your hands on as much money as possible. But we do agree that money provides most people with the freedom to pursue the things that are most important to them. And that's where true wealth lies. We agree with the definition of success as it was quoted by one of the most famous motivational speakers of our time, Earl Nightingale. He said that success is the continued pursuit of a worthy goal. And we recognize that that goal can be different for everyone. So, David, give us a little background about yourself.
Well, I'm an electrical engineer. I got my degree from Union College in New York. And I currently work for a firm that designs power components. I work with customers like HP, Raytheon, and NASA to design their power architectures. I've owned a few businesses over the years, and I've owned some real estate, some single-family homes, and some multi-units. And I, like many others, found myself in a position where I would earn and spend and earn and spend. I actually looked back over a period in my life just to see how much money I earned. And I was surprised to find out that I earned over $1 million and felt horrible because that amount of money was no longer in my possession. I kept almost none of it. I had very few assets, and I couldn't even say that I gave most of it away to help somebody else. It wasn't until I got married and had my third child that I decided that things had to change. And it's when I started a process of goal setting and actually managing my money. And that's the journey that I'm on today. All right, Ken, what's your story?
Well, like you, Dave, I also have a degree in electrical engineering, although it is from a better school, Notre Dame in South Bend. But unlike you, I've never really been an engineer. I spent most of my time working since school in project and product management. And I've worked in both the public and private sectors. What that means, the public sector is people that are interested in providing a service to the public and therefore not necessarily interested in making a profit. And the private sector, where every day is about making a profit. Right now, I'm working for a company that works in the commercial fuel industry. And my job as a project manager is to oversee the execution of development projects. I'm the central communication point between different functions in the company and the customer. And I've always earned a good salary. Most of the 20 plus years I've been out of school, I have earned over $100,000 a year. Also, like you, Dave, I've earned well over $1 million in salary in that time, and I've spent every penny of it, probably closer to $2 million. Is when I lost my last job a couple of years ago and I couldn't afford to pay my bills that woke me up. After earning six figures every year, here I was broke and selling all the stuff that I had collected. I realized something was really wrong and I decided to do something about it. I began to research stories and teachings of people that had achieved the success that I was looking for and that I used to talk about while I was out spending money at the club. I learned pretty fast that there's a big difference between looking rich and actually being rich. Buying expensive clothes and cars and popping bottles in Vegas, that may impress a lot of people, but who are you trying to impress? And in reality, if you're paying all of this with your credit cards to finance your nightlife and to take out car loans to drive something expensive, it's just make-believe. That's somebody else's money. Creating real wealth boils down to having more money coming in than going out every day, forever. And that concept is exciting.
No, absolutely, Ken. And what we want to do with this podcast series is to make it exciting for you, our audience. We want to share the idea, the energy, and the knowledge that you can use your income, the income that you have now or will make in the future, to build wealth and finance the lifestyle that you want while continuing to build wealth. Earlier, we mentioned attitude and desire, and I think it's worth exploring that a little bit more. I was listening to Earl Nightingale's audiobook, Lead the Field, and he mentions that our attitude goes a long way in determining how successful we will be in achieving our goals. We can control our attitude in any situation, and the results that we have in achieving our goals will be in proportion to our attitudes. If we have a good attitude, we'll have good results. If we have a fair attitude, fair results. Poor attitude, poor results. The first part of my freshman year in college was a disaster because I didn't have the right attitude. I grew up in Chicago and went to school in upstate New York. I only knew one other person there, and he was from my high school. And we just didn't fit in socially. The whole atmosphere was just so different, and I was just out of my comfort zone. So I went to class, I ate, I slept, and was miserable. I even got sick. And that's the way it went for the first trimester, which took me through till Christmas. So the other guy that I knew from my high school, let's call him John. So John and I got together over the Christmas holidays to discuss how much we hated it there. But we decided to give Union another shot. We decided that we were going to fit in socially. So when we got back after the Christmas holidays, we became extremely active on campus, and we changed our attitude. We changed it from, I want this to be what I'm used to I'm going to make the most of my experience here and enjoy it. And it worked. I got to be part of many clubs, and I got to be part of the leadership of those clubs as well. And I met and became really good friends with a lot of people on campus. And through study groups, I even kept my grades up. From that point on, after I changed my attitude, I had a great time at college. I'd do it all over again. The only thing I would change is that first trimester. So I was the same person. The college was the same. The students were the same. The only thing that changed was my attitude. And as my attitude changed, my situation changed. I became determined to make a success of my career right there at Union.
Dave, I can relate. It's amazing how an entire situation can change when you approach it with a positive attitude and commitment. And you have to really desire to make it work. I remember a job I had a few years back. After working there a few months, after the so-called honeymoon period was over, when everything's cool because you don't know enough to know better, I noticed that there wasn't a whole lot for me to do there. And mind you, in the job I had been before that one, I was always on the go. I was always traveling, bombarded with phone calls, emails, and meetings. There wasn't any time to do anything at that other job. But this new job was different. Not better, though. I wasn't as busy, but the work I did get was disorganized and confusing. Company senior management seemed to change their minds every day about what they wanted. My direct supervisor would take his frustration out on our team. It was a new industry for me, so I felt I was already at a disadvantage because I really didn't understand the products and even what I was supposed to do on a day-to-day basis. I'd work on a schedule, for example, to put my project together. And my supervisor would tell me that a schedule was useless because the team was being pulled in 100 different directions. The next day, he'd ask me to tell him what date something was supposed to be done because the company president was asking. After a while, I found myself just hating to go to work. I started regretting accepting the job, and I was actually wishing for my old crazy, hectic life back. And one day I was asked to put together some notes about my team's progress on a bunch of projects. I asked the other project managers if they could show me the format they plan to show to the new president. We were going to present this to the president and a bunch of senior execs, and there wasn't any standard format for actually showing this presentation. I was a little surprised about that, but my experience taught me that when you're presenting to executives, you have to act like you're talking to a sixth grader, really because it has to be quick and simple because they don't have a lot of time to listen to a bunch of stuff. So I put together a presentation template that I'd had in a previous life. Format was a 1 page per project so you could see in a glance exactly everything we're working on, whether or not the project was on time or late, what things were needed to make the project successful, and what things were coming up next. The company president asked about the format after the meeting, and he asked my manager to have all the project managers use the format that I had put together. And that's when it hit me. This company with all its new senior managers and all its employees was trying to find its way. It was confused and all over the map because everybody was looking for somebody else to provide direction. And that's when I decided I'd no longer look at my job as boring with not enough to do, but as an opportunity to help direct the efforts of my team. I would use my previous years of training and the time I had available as an open invitation to create something brand new for them. And that changed my job at that company forever. I started looking forward to going to work and developing the tools that would help my team and my department be more efficient and successful. My approach changed from I don't want to be here to I want to do something new and create something new today. Right away, I noticed the team members becoming more engaged with what we were trying to do, and people that had been quiet and detached before were now coming in with new ideas of their own. So in this case, my new attitude not only affected my approach and my success in my job, but it had a positive impact and became contagious with the entire team. It was like just seeing the project lead working with energy and enthusiasm caused the others to want to act that way. And we know all of you have heard it before, and it's real, a positive attitude, an attitude that says, I can do this and I can enjoy that makes all the difference. It's necessary starting point to becoming successful at anything.
No, that's right, Ken. If we look at some of the people that we consider to be successful, whether it's the CEO of Microsoft or even the lady next door with 3 teenagers who always seems to be on the go and happy taking care of a family, you can be assured that they didn't get that way with having a negative attitude. Now, they don't pretend to ignore the obstacles that are in that way, but they approach each obstacle as a challenge that they will, not might, but will overcome. Now, mind you, if you're not used to approaching problems as opportunities and approaching obstacles to your goals with the right attitude, you can change, but it's not instantaneous and it doesn't happen overnight. Again, quoting from Earl Nightingale, the proper attitude takes time to develop, and it has to become practice before it becomes habit.
So we know we're new to you, and it may take some time for some of the things that we're talking about to sink in. But we want you to try something for us. Tomorrow when you wake up, before you even get out of bed or off the couch or leave wherever it is you sleep at your house, tell yourself you're going to have a good day. Tell yourself you're going to have a great day. Say it to yourself out loud if you can, and you have to really mean it. Smile when you say it, and you'll see it'll change how you feel instantly. Later, when you're home and getting ready for bed, take stock of your day. Was it any better than the last? Did you have a bit more patience at that stoplight or feel less annoyed about that annoying coworker of yours? Work with us here. Give this a try, and we'll give you the tools to begin approaching life every day with a positive attitude, one that you will use to bring success into your life every day for the rest of your life. So that's our introduction to our podcast and our start of our journey with you. Over the next several months, about every other week, we'll post podcasts discussing many different experiences from people that have already paid the price and learned our lessons for us. We'll cover both their successes and, maybe more importantly, their failures of people that started off just like you, used their talents to make serious money and then let it all slip away, mostly because they didn't have the lessons we hope to give you. We'll interview ex-athletes, doctors, business leaders, and people from the world of entertainment that had fistfuls of money and big paychecks and watched it all go away faster than it came in. We'll learn from them firsthand what mistakes they made, how things got out of control, and what they learned. During some shows, we'll talk about the temptations of spending more than we make, the convenience of credit cards and high-interest loans, the pressure from family and friends to share the wealth, so to speak. We'll talk about the companies and businesses whose main focus is to separate you from your money as fast as they can. We'll also dedicate a part of each show to answering some of your questions. Since this is a podcast, we'll read through emails from our listeners and pick a couple that are closely related to whatever topics we're covering for that day.
In addition to sharing the stories of others, we'll cover some of the principles and resources that have helped our guests protect their financial futures. These principles are from well-known authors that taught 30, 40, even 80 years ago. But the principles still ring true today. The principles may be easy to say and understand, but can be challenging to implement. And we will share with you how we overcome these challenges on a daily basis. And we will challenge you. We will challenge you to make sure that you are working every day to stay on track and achieve your goals.
Now, you may ask yourself, what makes our show any different or any more helpful than any other financial planning and debt elimination seminar? And the short answer is you.
You see, in our research, we read and listened to financial gurus, authors, speakers, and talk show guests that all had advice on how to get out of debt and become financially stable. We heard a lot of common sense advice, and we watched the audiences and nod their head and applaud, all while the gurus continue to get rich. And that's great. We hope with our newfound commitment to wealth generation and retention that we get rich too.
But we also found that credit card debt is at its highest levels ever. People are still struggling every day to survive financially. And what we find the most interesting is many of the highest paid people in the United States are filing bankruptcy and end up doing commercials recommending obscene interest payday loans.
In other words, we see the need for financial education, not only for people who have dug their financial holes, but for people, and in particular, young people who are just starting out, that have been given a shovel and a ladder and told to pick one. What we've determined is missing is education and support for energetic and talented teens and adults who stand to make a lot of money in this world. You have what it takes to be as financially secure as you care to be. The one way our show is different is because it will give you the tools to avoid digging the financial hole, so you can use the ladder to climb to success instead of asking someone to throw it down to you in your hole. We're going to ditch the shovel and avoid the hole together.
Another way we think our show is different is probably the most obvious. It's free. During our research, we noticed how most of the experts on becoming wealthy conveniently offer some book or series of books or series of DVDs that would explain it all to you. You just need to whip out your credit card and buy it. No problem, right? Again, we don't see anything wrong with this if the information is valuable and it helps the customers get what they want and need. But we're excited about what we've learned and what we're learning. And we're really excited about being able to bring it to you through the podcast format so we can share it at no charge to you.
Now, we'll have to qualify that just a bit, because in addition to being honest and upfront about our struggles and our research, we also want to be transparent. Although we obviously don't charge our audience to listen, it does cost money to record and publish a podcast. And ultimately, we even want to get paid for doing so. And that's where the advertisements come into play. Another big part of our research and getting ready to bring this series to you was listening to other podcasts. And we wanted to adopt some of the things we liked about other podcast formats.
One of our favorite podcasts was the podcast Startup, a podcast about starting a podcast business. If you haven't listened to it, we highly recommend it. It's entertaining in its own right, but all you budding entrepreneurs out there can learn a lot from what the podcasters went through and shared. One of our favorite features of Startup podcasts was that the podcasters were very upfront about the role of advertising on their site. and they made it their business to let their audience know the difference between their show and their advertising.
As a side note, we found it very sobering that despite their efforts to be transparent about advertising as a source of revenue, they had an incident around advertising that almost brought their business down. Without going into too much detail, they inadvertently broadcast an ad in which the ad's participants were unaware that they were being used in an ad. So the results were tremendous. And again, it's a lesson for us new podcasters. We really appreciate them being so transparent and humble about their mistake, and we will not let the lesson go to waste.
You see, this is one of the things we love about the podcast format. We're able to share our stories and what we've learned from others without charging you directly. So our plan is to partner with companies that have products and services that we like and that we hope you, our audience, will like as well. And we encourage you to give them your business. This media format is the closest we've ever seen to the win-win-win scenario, and we want to see all of us succeed.
Well, that's us, and that's our show. We thank you for listening, and we hope you get a lot out of this podcast.
Thanks again, and talk to you soon. Hey everyone, thanks for listening. Please be sure to visit our website at www.keepitpodcast.com. That's www.keepitpodcast, all one word, .com. There you'll find links to websites and blogs related to building wealth and other useful information. You can also leave comments about our show and listen to or download all our shows after they air. Also, as a reminder, this show is for informational and entertainment purposes only and should not be used as financial advice, as we do not know your specific circumstances and are not your fiduciaries. Please consult with your personal financial advisor before making any investments or financial decisions. Thanks again, and we'll see you next time. In the meantime, remember, it's not what you make, it's what you keep.